Too soon? Hi everyone, it's Alice, and today we're going old school, and we're gonna do a book tag. Now, I feel like there's gonna be two kinds of people watching this video. On one side, we're gonna have people who are like, girl, it is still August, hold your horses. And then on the other side, my side, we have people who are very excited that fall is just around the corner. It isn't that long until September, so I feel like it's okay. We're doing this to get into the spirit of things, and it's actually very moody here today and very rainy, so I feel like it's allowed. Anyways, this tag was originally created by the lovely The Book Bell, which I will leave a link to in the description, and we have 10 questions to get through, so let's get into it. The first question is, what books always remind you of fall/autumn? My main one is my favorite book, not surprising to a lot of you. It's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. In part because this is a very dark academia book and there's something about that is very like autumnal, but also just because every time I've read and reread this book, it was during the fall months. So for me, it's just associated in my brain because of that. I also do feel like it is a great book to read when it's like fall outside, even though this book is set over a whole academic year, not just in the fall months. Another one that comes to mind though is a newer favorite. It's Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Again, very dark academia, but this is more like, it leans more into the fantasy genre, and there's like all this occult stuff and ghosts and the supernatural, and this is a really, really dark book, and it's perfect for fall. The second question is, what is your favorite autumnal cover? So for this, I found these two books on my shelves, both of which have very autumnal covers. The first one is The Headmaster's Wife by Thomas Christopher Greene. I have not read this book yet, but it's about a headmaster who runs this elite school in Vermont, and I think he is starting to old age is starting to get to him, and he is found on campus naked one night, and the police take him in. And I think the reason that he's lost it a little bit is in part because he's getting old, and in part because he's lost his wife, and he's overtaken with grief. Beautiful cover though, very autumnal, again sort of like academic, which I love. The second one is The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman, which is a prequel in the Practical Magic series, and I have read this one. It's set in the 60s and 70s, and we're following the same family that we're following in all of these books, but just a different generation, and this is a beautiful, beautiful book. It's set mainly in New York, and we're following these siblings, and it's a really, really good book. I love Alice Hoffman. Like, she is such a great storyteller. Like, there's something about the way she writes that just, yeah, I feel like storyteller is like the way to describe her. She's not just a writer, she's like a true storyteller. I'm sure I have more sort of autumnal covers on my shelves, but these are the ones that stood out to me the most. Question number 3 says, what is your favorite autumnal drink to read with? You know, I really wish I was like a pumpkin spice latte kind of girly, and I feel like I do have time to become one, but as of now, I don't really like coffee and I don't really drink it. So I'm much more on the hot chocolate train, and my favorite ones are the ones from Withered of Chelsea. And for autumn specifically, I like the original one because it's just very good, and the orange one, which is delicious. And I feel like both for autumn and winter, that orange one is really, really good. And I like to drink it with whipped cream, and yeah, usually with whipped cream, but I won't say no to marshmallows if they're given to me. The fourth question is, do you prefer to read late at night or early in the morning? This is a good question, actually. It's pretty rare, I feel, that I have a morning where I can just get up and start reading. And I used to do that a lot, actually, when I had a different job and I would work evening shifts or like afternoon shifts. I would just get up and read, and I would do that every morning where I could. And now I have a different job, so I don't really do that. Although I guess I do read on the subway on the way to work in the morning, so I guess that is a type of morning reading that I still do, but it's not really the same. I am probably more of a morning person than a night owl though, so I do my best to work and I'm most productive in the morning hours, so I do really like when I get to read in those hours and I can just get up and I can just get in comfy clothes and just start reading. Like, I do really enjoy that, but I don't do it that much. And I do actually read every evening before I go to bed, so I do read a lot in the evening as well. Depends a little bit on how tired I am, but I guess I'm a little bit of both. I like reading both in the morning and in the evening and in the middle of the day, and honestly all day every day. Question number 5 says, Halloween is coming. What is your favorite spooky read? As you may know, I'm not a huge horror reader because I am very easily frightened. I am a scaredy cat. But I'd say maybe these 3 books. The first one is a graphic novel, actually. It's Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, which has several stories in it, but it's pretty spooky. And like, there are almost pages in here that I can't really show you because it's just very creepy, but it's very, very good. And if you can read this on like a stormy night, this is perfect. I also guess Perfume by Patrick Süskind is a kind of horror book, and I really, really love this one. The writing is crazy, and it's very intense and very visceral, and it's all about like the senses, and it's absolutely disgusting, but I mean that in like the best way. Then we have The Silent Companion, which is a horror book that I read last year, and this is historical fiction. It's super atmospheric, and honestly it's really, really creepy. I made the mistake of finishing this at night when it was like kind of stormy outside, and it honestly, like, it genuinely freaked me out, and I had a hard time falling asleep because there's just like the things in this that are scary are like super, super creepy. Question number 6 says, what is the ultimate comfort read for you? For this season, it's a couple of really beautiful graphic novels, actually. The first one is one of my favorite books ever. It's Garlic and the Vampire by Bree Paulsen, which is a beautiful little comforting story about this garlic person who lives in a town of vegetable folk, and when a vampire moves into the neighborhood, she has to go confront him, and she's very anxious, and it's all about her little adventure. The color palette of this is like crazy autumnal and beautiful, and I love the way that the characters are drawn here and their expressions. It's just absolutely beautiful. This is also a part of a duology, so there is a second book as well, so if you like this one, you'll love that one too. The second one I have is, of course, Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. This tells the story of 2 friends who are spending their last year together before going off to college at this like pumpkin patch, and they work there, and it's all about this night they spend together, and it's a really beautiful story about friendship and growing up, and I really love this character in particular because she's really, really food driven. So they're going on this adventure because of this guy, and she's just eating her way through everything, which, that's my kind of girl. I'd say the both of these are very sweet and wholesome and very comforting. I also remember that I did read this one when I was sort of like, I think I was getting sick or something, and I felt like a little bit down, and I read this and it really, really cheered me up. And yeah, both of these are just very sweet. The 7th question says, what is your favorite autumnal reading snack? I really wish that we had more like actual autumnal snacks coming out in stores and stuff during spooky season. And like, I wish that we had more of that, but we don't really. Like, you can get Halloween candy, but most of it is for kids. But I wish we had like autumnal cookies and those kinds of things, but it's not really a thing here. But I do really like baking this time of year, if that makes, like, does that count to make your own snacks? Is a cinnamon bun a snack? I don't really know, but I like baking, like cookies, cinnamon buns, and even though I don't make them myself, if I can get my hands on some sort of like autumnal donut, I will absolutely lose my mind. Again though, they don't really feel like snacks in the way that I think of snacks, but yeah, if any of you have any recommendations for autumnal snacks, let me know and I will see if I can find some. I do guess I kind of like caramel popcorn. It's not particularly autumnal, really, like you can get it all year, but I do like a certain kind of like, I can't remember what it's called. I think It's from this like brand that makes caramels as well. I'll see if I can find a picture of it, but I do really like that, and that feels a little bit autumnal. Question number 8 is, what is your favorite autumnal candle to burn while reading? Honestly, I have so many, but for autumnal ones, some of my favorites are from Midsummer Child. She comes out with like an autumn collection every single year, and I always get some of her candles. This one is one of my favorites. I can't remember if it's from last year or the year before, but this is Everlasting Autumn, and it says it has cinnamon, frankincense, and cedarwood. It kind of smells like mulled wine in a way, but more autumnal than sort of wintry, and I really like this one. And then I also like this, which is All Hallows Eve. This has cedarwood, musk, patchouli, and incense. It's a little bit sort of like, it's way more musky than this one, but it's really good, and I just really like her candles. I have like 10 different ones that I've gotten over like the seasons, and they're just really, really good, and they burn really well. Good smell, payoff, scent, payoff is probably what you call it, but yeah, smells so good. Oh yeah, I gotta burn this one soon. I also love the candles from MYTHOLOGIE, but I don't really have any to show you because I've burned all of them. And I love them. I really need to make a new order. Maybe I'll treat myself to that for my birthday or something. But I really, really love their candles. They have a lot to choose from. And my favorite ones are the ones that are sort of like musky and foresty. And they do have a couple that just smell like straight up forest, and they smell so freaking good. I really need to get some more of those. The second to last question is, when you're not reading, what is your favorite autumnal activity? I'm going to sound like my 16-year-old emo self, but I love going to graveyards this time of year. I just find graveyards to be really peaceful and beautiful, and usually they have these big, beautiful trees, and it's just very peaceful, and there's not a lot of people, and there's not a lot of noise. And I have a couple of favorites here in Oslo that I love going to during autumn and just walking around. I also really like photography this time of year. I like photography all year round, but there is something about taking photos when you find everything to be very beautiful. It's like extra special. And I guess I also really like doing YouTube this time of year. I love making autumnal content, and I know a lot of you love watching it as well, and I usually make way more videos than usual during this time, and it's both very satisfying and very fun. Is it weird to have favorite graveyards? I heard myself say that, and I'm wondering if that's a thing, but I do have them, so there you go. I guess I also really like cooking and baking this time of year. Again, I like it all year round, but especially this time of year, I feel like there are certain like vegetables and stuff that are just extra good this time of year. It sort of makes sense because it's like harvest season, so I try to make use of that. I love mushrooms, and I don't know, really like cooking and baking as well. Speaking of that though, that reminds me, I kind of want to get into mushroom picking or mushroom hunting or whatever you want to call it, because I feel like that would be a fun autumnal activity. I know that you can pick mushrooms like not in winter but in like summer as well, but I feel like in fall it's extra special, and most mushrooms come up this time of year, no? I don't really know a lot about it, but I think it could be fun. I also think that the culture of mushroom picking and like all of the stuff around that is really interesting because people are sort of weird about it, but I don't know. I like it. It sounds weird, but I like it. Then the last question is, what is on your autumnal/fall reading list? I am, of course, going to be making like a full autumn TBR. I've already done a witchy books TBR, and I'm thinking of doing like a cozy books TBR. There's a lot of TBRs coming your way, but I will mention one book that I definitely want to read this fall. It's The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Katherine Arden. I really want to read this because I've read the Winter Night trilogy by this author and I loved it, and I'm really excited to read something else by her. And although this isn't like a full-on autumnal cover, it has a sort of creepy, spooky vibe to it that makes me feel like it would be perfect for fall. It's also historical fiction, which I love, and yeah, I'm really excited to get into this. Okay, everyone, those were all of the questions. It's always fun to do these kinds of videos because it's just like chatting about fun things, and I love talking about autumn and books, so this was kind of perfect. Now, I'd love to know your answers to these, maybe especially what your favorite autumn/fall read is, what snacks you like eating, and what activities you like getting up to outside of reading. I would love to hear about it. As always, thank you very much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you soon. Bye!